Look at you. Filthy homeless garbage. Thinking you belong among decent people. The two cops sneer as they close in on Cal Monroe, a weary black man standing beside his battered cart. To them, he's nothing but clutter, unwashed, unwanted, and unworthy of breath. One shoves him while the other locks the cuffs, their laughter echoing like victory. The crowd averts its eyes, pretending not to see that a few yards away, a man in a tailored suit watches silently. A wealthy black CEO, calm but furious inside. The cuffs tighten. The mockery spreads. And by tomorrow, those same cops will be ruined. The autumn breeze carried fallen leaves across Piedmont Park as the afternoon sun painted Atlanta's skyline in warm amber hues. Cal Monroe's weathered hands gripped the rusty handle of his shopping cart, its wheels squeaking a familiar rhythm as he moved along the park's winding path. His deep voice, softened by age and hardship, hummed Amazing Grace, the same hymn his mama used to sing on Sunday mornings. Lord knows I've seen better days, Cal muttered to himself, easing his tired body onto a park bench. From his pocket, he pulled out a half-eaten sandwich, breaking off small pieces for the gathering pigeons. Their gentle cooing reminded him of peaceful moments from his past, before life had turned so harsh. The crunch of heavy boots on gravel made Cal's shoulders tense. He didn't need to look up to know what was coming. He'd learned to sense trouble long ago. Two Atlanta PD officers approached, their shadows stretching across the ground like dark omens. Well, what do we have here? Officer Dalton Briggs's voice dripped with mock sweetness. His partner, Mark Denham, hung back, shifting uncomfortably from foot to foot. Looks like we got ourselves a vagrant disturbing the peace. Cal kept his eyes down, speaking softly. Just resting my legs, officer. Been walking all day. His fingers trembled slightly as he continued feeding the birds, trying to maintain some dignity. Resting? This ain't a homeless shelter. Briggs circled the shopping cart like a predator. This here's a public park for decent folks. His boot connected with the cart's wheel, sending it crashing onto its side. Cal's few possessions scattered across the ground, some clothes, a worn Bible, a plastic water bottle, and an old photo in a cracked frame. Please, Cal said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Those are all I got. He slowly stood, hands visible, movements careful. A few park visitors slowed their pace, watching from a safe distance. Some pulled out phones, but none stepped forward to help. As Cal bent to retrieve his Bible, Briggs's hand clamped down on his arm. Oh, no you don't. That looks like resisting to me. His fingers dug into Cal's flesh. Wouldn't want you reaching for a weapon. Please, officer, I ain't done nothing. Cal's voice cracked, decades of dignity crumbling under cruel hands. Just let me get my things. Briggs moved with practiced violence, sweeping Cal's legs while pushing forward. Cal hit the ground hard, concrete scraping his hands. Denham hesitated for a moment before moving to assist his partner, holding Cal's legs while Briggs pressed his knee into the older man's back. The rough surface bit into Cal's cheek as Briggs ground his face against the sidewalk. Blood began to seep from the abraded skin, trickling down to stain his collar. The cold metal of handcuffs bit into his wrists, ratcheting too tight. Should have stayed invisible, boy, Briggs whispered, his breath hot against Cal's ear. The slur that followed was quiet enough that only Cal could hear it, but its poison burned deep. The officer's knee pressed harder, making Cal gasp for air. Through pain-blurred vision, Cal noticed expensive leather shoes stepping into view. His eyes traveled up pressed suit pants to the figure of a well-dressed black man standing perfectly still about 20 yards away. Even through his distress, Cal couldn't help but notice how the man's presence seemed to command attention. His stance straight-backed and powerful, his arms folded across his chest. The man's face remained carefully neutral, a mask of professional detachment. But his eyes told a different story. They burned with an intensity that seemed to take in every detail of the scene. The scattered belongings, the blood on the concrete, the growing crowd of uncomfortable onlookers, the smirk on Briggs's face. The stranger's fingers tightened slightly on his crossed arms, the only visible sign of his internal reaction. His expensive watch caught the sunlight as he stood motionless, watching Cal's humiliation with those fierce, calculating eyes. Cal felt himself being roughly pulled to his feet, Briggs's hands unnecessarily rough. The movement sent waves of pain through his shoulders, but he bit back any sound of distress. His mama had always told him to hold on to his dignity, no matter what. "Let's go, old-timer," Briggs sneered, shoving Cal toward the waiting patrol car. "Maybe a night in lockup will teach you about proper park behavior." As they marched him away, Cal caught one last glimpse of his fallen Bible, its pages fluttering in the breeze. The well-dressed stranger hadn't moved, his presence like a statue of judgment overlooking the scene. The patrol car's door stood open like a hungry mouth. "Watch your head," Briggs sneered, making no effort to prevent Cal from bumping it against the car frame that a commanding voice cut through the tension. "Officers, what's the charge?" Darius Langston stepped forward, his movements smooth and deliberate. His tailored suit and straight-backed posture contrasted sharply with the chaos of the scene. His face remained carefully controlled, but authority rang in every word. Briggs's head snapped around, his expression darkening. "Back off, sir. This isn't your business." His hand tightened on Cal's arm, making the older man wince. "Everything that happens in this city is my business," Darius replied, his voice level but carrying unmistakable weight. He stood perfectly still, hands clasped behind his back, radiating the quiet confidence of someone used to being heard. At a few feet away, Myra Jenkins held her phone steady, recording every moment. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in a neat bun, her teacher's instinct for documenting wrongdoing evident in her unwavering grip. "Oh, this is going viral," she muttered, just loud enough to be heard. Her fingers swiped across the screen, making sure to capture Briggs's badge number. 6847. Darius's eyes flickered to denim, noting his badge as well, 4218. The younger officer shifted uncomfortably under that penetrating gaze, his Adam's apple bobbing as he swallowed hard. "I said back off," Briggs barked, but a note of uncertainty had crept into his voice. Something about the well-dressed stranger's demeanor suggested power, the kind that couldn't be countered with a badge and handcuffs. Cal sat hunched in the back seat now, his dignity intact despite his circumstances. His eyes met Darius's through the window, and something passed between them, a moment of recognition, perhaps, or a shared understanding of injustice. The patrol car's engine rumbled to life. Briggs slammed his door with unnecessary force, a final act of defiance against the watching stranger. The vehicle pulled away from the curb, carrying Cal into the gathering dusk. Darius waited until the police car disappeared around the corner before approaching Myra. She was still trembling slightly, her phone clutched tight in her hand. "Ma'am," Darius said softly, "that was brave of you to record. Would you be willing to share that footage with me?" Myra nodded, her teacher's instinct for recognizing allies kicking in. "They shouldn't be allowed to get away with this," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "I've seen too much of this happening in our city." Her fingers moved quickly across her phone's screen, sending the video to the email address Darius provided. The quiet beep of confirmation seemed oddly loud in the now empty park. Darius reached into his suit jacket and withdrew a business card. The elegant black and silver design caught the fading light as he handed it to her. Myra's eyes widened as she read the text. "Langston Industries," followed by his name and title. "Thank you," he said simply, but the words carried weight. "You've done something important today." Myra clutched the card, understanding dawning in her expression. "You're that Langston, the CEO?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Those officers have no idea who they just performed for, do they?" A ghost of a smile touched Darius's lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. "No, they don't." He glanced at the scattered belongings still littering the ground. Cal's overturned cart, his torn Bible, the spilled contents of his life. "But they will." Later that night, Darius sat in his parked Tesla, the interior lights dimmed to near darkness. The video played on his phone screen, casting a harsh glow across his features. He watched it again and again. The casual cruelty, the whispered slur, the blood on the concrete, Briggs's self-satisfied smirk. Each detail burned itself into his memory. His finger paused the footage on a frame, showing Cal's face pressed against the sidewalk. In the quiet darkness, his whispered words carried the weight of a vow. "Tomorrow I'll make sure they regret this." Morning light crept across Atlanta's skyline, but the city was already buzzing. On thousands of phones, tablets, and computers, the same video played on repeat. A homeless black man forced face down on the sidewalk, blood seeping onto concrete, while two officers stood over him like conquering warriors. The footage, shaky but clear, spread like wildfire across social media platforms. Hashtag Atlanta police brutality and hashtag justice for the homeless trended nationwide. Each share brought fresh outrage, new comments demanding accountability. Inside the CNN Center, reporters huddled around monitors displaying the viral clip. The morning news anchor, Sandra Chun, leaned forward in her chair as the video played behind her. The incident occurred yesterday afternoon in Piedmont Park, she reported, her voice professionally controlled but tinged with disgust. Sources confirm the officers involved are Dalton Briggs and Mark Denham of the Atlanta Police Department. The footage paused, zooming in on a figure in the background, a well-dressed black man watching with crossed arms. The image enhanced, sharpening his features. And here's where this story takes an unexpected turn, Sandra continued. Several social media users have identified this bystander as Darius Langston, CEO of Langston Industries. The screen split to show Darius's corporate headshot beside the frozen frame. The resemblance was unmistakable. In offices and homes across Atlanta, people gathered around screens. At a local diner, waitresses and customers clustered near the mounted TV, coffee cups forgotten in their hands. "That's him, all right," a gray-haired regular muttered. "Man's worth billions, and he just stood there watching and recording." The waitress corrected, pointing to her phone where she'd pulled up Darius's latest tweet. The tweet was simple but explosive. "I witnessed injustice yesterday. I intend to make it right." The words rippled through news cycles, each network dissecting their meaning. On Fox News, pundits questioned his motives. On MSNBC, analysts praised his stance. Local Atlanta stations ran special segments on Langston Industries' history of community involvement. Inside the city jail, Cal Monroe sat on a hard metal bench, his body aching from the concrete floor he'd slept on. The holding cell smelled of bleach and despair. His face throbbed where it had been pressed into the sidewalk, dried blood still crusting his cheek. That a young officer, couldn't be more than 25, approached with a paper cup of water. His name tag read Rodriguez. He slid the cup through the bars, avoiding eye contact. "Here you go, sir," he said quietly. The "sir" surprising Cal. Cal took the cup, the water lukewarm and tasting of metal. "Thank you, son," he said, his voice rough from thirst. Leaning back against the cell wall, Cal closed his eyes. "Always the same old story," he muttered. "Different badges, same ending." Across town in the penthouse office of Langston Industries, Darius stood before a wall of monitors. Each screen showed different news coverage of the incident. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. Calls from board members, journalists, politicians seeking comment. His assistant, Marcus, entered with a tablet. "Sir, they're running his mugshot now." Darius turned to the main screen where a local news station displayed Cal's booking photo. The image showed Cal's face, bruised but dignified, eyes staring directly into the camera. Something about those eyes caught Darius's attention. He stepped closer, memories stirring. The weathered face was different, marked by years of hardship. But those eyes, he knew those eyes. The coffee cup in his hand slipped, hitting the carpet with a soft thud. Calvin Monroe. The name left his lips in a whisper of disbelief. His hand reached out, touching the screen where Cal's image was displayed. The years fell away, and suddenly he was 16 again, sitting on a porch in Keir Heights, sharing dreams with his best friend's older brother. "Sir, do you know him?" Marcus asked. Darius didn't answer immediately. His eyes remained fixed on the mugshot, taking in every detail of the face that had once been so familiar. Summer 1992. He was 12, skinny and scared, clutching his backpack as three older boys cornered him behind the old corner store. The tallest one had already landed 2 punches when Cal appeared like an avenging angel, 16 and fearless. "You touch him again," Cal had said, voice steady and dangerous. "And we're going to have problems that don't end today." The bully scattered. Cal helped Darius up, checked his bloody nose, and bought him a grape soda. "Listen up, little man," he'd said, sitting on the curb. "World's going to try to make you small. Don't let it. You stand tall, even when you're scared." Those lessons went beyond fighting. Cal would help Darius with homework, explaining math problems with infinite patience. "You're smart as hell, little brother," he'd say. "Don't let anyone tell you different." Everything changed after Sarah died. Cal's sister, barely 23, killed by a drunk driver who walked away with community service. Darius remembered the funeral, watching Cal's light dim. Then came the arrest. A routine traffic stop, planted evidence, a public defender who slept through the trial. Cal lost his job at the steel factory, his apartment, his future. Darius was away at MIT on scholarship when it happened, drowning in guilt for not being there. Darius drove through Keir Heights later that afternoon, his Tesla gliding silently through streets that held ghosts of better days. Every corner held a memory, each one sharper than the last. A.T. Mercy House shelter. Sister Margaret pulled out a thick ledger. Calvin Monroe. Yes, I know Cal. Good man. Always helps with cleanup, leads prayer circle when Brother Thomas is out. Has he mentioned problems with the police? Darius asked. Sister Margaret's face darkened. Those two, Briggs and Denham, they're like hunting dogs with a scent. Keep targeting the same people, especially Cal. Last month, they threw out his blankets. Said he was storing property illegally. She handed him a manila folder. Here's copies of every incident report we've filed. Names, dates, badge numbers. 5 years' worth of documented abuse. At City Hall the next morning, Darius faced Mayor Shaw and Chief Rohr. The conference room's leather and dark wood reeked of old money and older prejudices. Mr. Langston, Shaw gestured to an empty chair. We appreciate you bringing your concerns directly to us. Darius remained standing. I'm not here for appreciation. I'm here for action. Officers Briggs and Denham need to be suspended pending investigation. Rohr's chair creaked as he leaned forward. Now, Mr. Langston, let's not be hasty. My officers were responding to multiple complaints about aggressive panhandling. I was there, Darius cut in. Calvin Monroe was feeding pigeons. Your officers assaulted him without provocation. He pulled out his phone and played Myra's footage. The sounds filled the room. Cal's quiet, please, Briggs's sneering voice, the thud of body against concrete. Rohr waited for the video to end, then laughed dryly. Without body cam corroboration, that video is inadmissible. Could be edited, manipulated. The context is your officers targeting homeless black men to clear tourist districts, Darius said, voice dropping dangerously low. I have 5 years of documented complaints. From unreliable sources, Rohr waved dismissively. Addicts, vagrants, people with records. Either you suspend those officers and launch a real investigation, Darius said, leaning forward, or I'll file a civil rights lawsuit that will make national headlines for months. You do that, Rohr's voice dripped condescension, and we'll be forced to investigate every aspect of your involvement. Your relationship with Monroe, your company's hiring practices, your personal life. Amazing what determined investigators can uncover. You know what amazes me? Darius straightened slowly. How quickly you showed your true colors. Didn't even try to pretend this was about justice. This is Atlanta politics, Mr. Langston, Shaw said coldly. The sooner you understand that, the better for everyone. I won't be silent, Darius said from the doorway. And I won't stop until those officers face consequences. Hours later, in the precinct's basement, Chief Rohr found Officer Briggs pacing. Sir, about the body cam footage, delete your logs. Rohr cut him off. All of them. Internal Affairs will find nothing but technical malfunctions. In the department's IT office, Morrison typed commands. Click by click, byte by byte. The evidence vanished into digital darkness. A.T. Langston Industries press conference the next morning. Camera crews jostled for position. Darius stood at the podium, his charcoal suit immaculate. Yesterday, I witnessed something that has haunted me, he began. Not because it was shocking, but because it was routine. What happened to Calvin Monroe happens every day in our city. He paused, letting the weight settle. This is not about one homeless man. This is about every black man dehumanized under the guise of law. Reporters shouted questions. Darius raised a hand. Let me be clear. What I saw in Piedmont Park wasn't a procedure. It was an assault. Officer Briggs and Officer Denham didn't serve or protect. They brutalized an unarmed man whose only crime was existing while poor and black in a gentrified space. Your company's stock has dropped 12 points, a reporter noted. How do you respond? I built this empire from nothing, Darius said. From a one-room apartment in Keir Heights. I'm not afraid of losing it for the truth. We demand immediate action, he continued. The suspension of officers Briggs and Denham, an independent investigation into the pattern of harassment against homeless citizens, and a complete audit of all body cam footage from the past 6 months. Corporate counsel Janet intercepted him afterward. You're wading into political waters. The board is furious. Thompson Industries is threatening to pull their contracts. You mean I'm putting your comfort at risk? Darius stopped, turning to face her. Your carefully constructed position between two worlds. I'm trying to protect what you built, Janet said. No, he said softly. You're trying to protect the system that lets you pretend you're not part of the problem. That evening, Mayor Shaw called Janet's private number. Your client is causing considerable disruption. Does he know about your husband's position in the police union? Janet's fingers tightened around her pen. Deputy Commissioner Marcus Rhee, her husband of 15 years. What exactly are you suggesting? Janet asked carefully. Be our eyes and ears. Feed us his strategy, his evidence. In return, certain connections remain buried. Certain careers remain intact. Janet stared at the photo on her desk, her and Marcus at their wedding, both believing they'd made it. I'll need time to think. Time is a luxury we don't have. Make your choice. The line went dead. Janet sat perfectly still, watching her reflection in the window. Her computer contained everything. Legal strategy, witness lists, Ray Coleman's findings. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, accessing secure folders. The mayor's private email was already in her contacts. She hesitated one last time, cursor hovering over send, the file attached. Her finger clicked send before she could reconsider. The betrayal took less than 30 seconds to complete. Her phone buzzed. Smart choice. Welcome to the right side of history. Janet deleted the message, straightened her designer jacket, and walked to her next meeting. Behind her practiced smile, she tried to ignore the voice whispering that there was no right side in this war. The morning headline hit like a sledgehammer. Staged justice. CEO accused of paying homeless man to set up police. Darius stood in his office watching the media circus unfold on multiple screens. Leaked emails showed conversations that never happened, payments that were never made. Mr. Langston coordinated with Calvin Monroe weeks before the incident, one outlet reported. Sources claim up to $50,000 changed hands. Janet burst into his office, clutching a tablet. Darius, have you seen? Every word. His voice was ice. He watched her face carefully, searching for signs of guilt. This is serious, she said, pacing. Nike just pulled their contract. Microsoft is reviewing our partnership. They're lying, Darius said flatly. The emails look real, Darius. They have bank transfers, meeting schedules. I said they're lying. His reflection showed steel in his eyes. And you know it. Myra Jenkins entered. You've been played, son. Someone on the inside fed them everything they needed. After Janet left, Darius dove into server logs, access records. 20 years of tech experience had taught him one thing. Data always left footprints. What are you looking for? Myra asked. The leak had to come from inside. Someone with high-level access to our secure servers. Then he found it. The metadata signature on the leaked files, the encryption key, all leading back to one source. His fist crashed into the desk. Janet. She's with them. I trusted her, he said quietly. I thought she understood. She understands just fine, Myra replied. She just chose the other side. Now, Darius straightened his tie. We show them what real manipulation looks like. The police precinct loomed against the gray afternoon sky. Darius strode past shouting reporters, purpose in every step. Inside, Officer Chen's eyes widened. Sir, can I help? I need to speak with Chief Roar. Darius's voice carried across the lobby. About the missing body cam footage and doctored arrest logs. Dalton Briggs approached, that familiar smirk twisting his face. Well, if it isn't Atlanta's favorite troublemaker. I want access to the original arrest logs, Darius said. The real ones. You got a warrant. Briggs's smirk widened. Or did you think flashing your platinum card would be enough? Those records are public domain. Darius took out his phone, started recording. Unless you're admitting there's something to hide. Briggs stepped closer, invading his space. You think your money changes who you are to us? No, but it might change how many people watch what happens next. Last chance, Darius said quietly. Show me the logs. Briggs's hand shot out, shoving Darius hard in the chest. That's assault on an officer. The next moments exploded in chaos. Briggs grabbed Darius's arm, twisting it behind his back. Other officers swarmed in, driving him to the floor. His cheek hit the cold tile, the same position they'd forced Cal into. "Stop resisting," someone shouted. Though Darius lay perfectly still, cameras flashed. Phones recorded. A knee pressed into his spine. Handcuffs bit into his wrists. They hauled him up roughly, his silk tie twisted, his jacket torn. A thin line of blood trickled from his split lip. "Chief," Roar appeared. "Book him. Assault on an officer, resisting arrest, disturbing the peace." "The only disturbance is your corruption," Darius said clearly, knowing cameras were still rolling. They marched him to a holding cell that smelled of bleach and despair, the same cell they'd probably held Cal in. "Enjoy your stay," Briggs called out. "Maybe now you'll learn your place." While Darius sat in his cell, across town, Cal jerked awake on an unfamiliar couch. Sweat beaded on his forehead from another nightmare. "You're safe," Tasha Green called from the kitchen. "Been out for almost 12 hours. She handed him coffee, showing him the viral video. Darius forced to the ground the same way. "Been live streaming about your case for days," Tasha said. "People are listening." Ray Coleman arrived carrying a heavy messenger bag. Darius knew they'd come for him eventually. "Had me gather everything weeks ago." He pulled out an external hard drive. Internal memos, deleted body cam footage, financial records showing payoffs. Tasha connected the drive. Documents filled the screen, hundreds of them, evidence of years of systematic abuse. "Look at this," she whispered, opening an email chain showing Roar ordering officers to target specific neighborhoods. They worked through the morning. Tasha crafting social media threads, Ray verifying sources, Cal recording a statement. "They tried to make me invisible," he said to the camera. "Make me feel less than human. But I'm still here, still standing." "Know what's powerful?" Tasha said. "Every time they try to shut someone up, they created another witness." "When do we release it?" Cal asked. "We build it right," Tasha said. "Make it so big, so clear they can't spin it away." Dawn crept over Atlanta. Darius sat at the safe house kitchen table, ice pack pressed against his swollen jaw. His usual crisp suit replaced by a simple black t-shirt. Tasha burst through the door with laptops and cables. "Social media's exploding. Your mugshots everywhere." "Good," Darius said. "Let them see what their proper channels really look like." They gathered around Tasha's impromptu command center. Evidence files spread across the floor, witness statements, leaked documents, video footage. "We've got their whole system mapped out," Tasha explained. "Every false arrest, every covered-up complaint. 3 years of targeting homeless black men before tourism events. Langston Industries has broadcasting capability for about 12 million viewers," Darius said. "Perfect." Tasha pulled up a presentation template. "We do it live. No editing, no filters. Raw truth straight to the people." They spent hours planning the broadcast. Myra coordinated with social justice groups. Cal practiced his testimony with Ray. Evening sky darkened as spotlights illuminated the massive stage before Langston Industries headquarters. Digital screens towered above, broadcasting to thousands gathered in the plaza. Darius stood in the wings, adjusting his tie. Despite his bruises, he'd chosen his sharpest suit. Cal waited beside him, hands trembling. "Been invisible so long. Don't know how to be seen anymore. Just be yourself." Darius squeezed his shoulder. "That's what they fear most." Live in 3 minutes, Tasha's voice crackled through their earpieces. 12 million viewers already logged in. The massive screens flickered to life. A hush fell as Darius and Cal walked onto the stage. "Good evening," Darius began. "My name is Darius Langston. 2 weeks ago, I watched police officers assault my childhood friend Calvin Monroe for the crime of being homeless while black. When I demanded justice, they assaulted me too." He touched his bruised jaw. "But tonight isn't about me. It's about decades of systematic abuse hidden behind badges and bureaucracy." The screens shifted to body cam footage, not the malfunctioning official versions, but crystal clear recordings. Scene after scene played out. Briggs and others targeting homeless black men, planting evidence, falsifying reports. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some cried. Others shouted in anger. Cal stepped forward. "That was me last month and the month before. Always the same officers, always the same lies." The footage shifted to internal police emails. Tasha's team highlighted key phrases: "Clean up the tourist zones. Usual suspects. Keep it off the books. Chief Roar's name appeared repeatedly. Notice the pattern. Darius continued. Every major convention, every tourist event, they'd sweep through, arresting black men like Cal. No charges filed, no records kept. More documents filled the screens, falsified arrest reports, deleted complaints, buried investigations. The crowd's anger grew palpable. Then came the bombshell. Earlier today, Officer Mark Denham came forward. This is his unedited body cam footage from the morning after Cal's arrest. The video showed Denham entering Roar's office. Roar sat behind his desk, smirking as he ordered footage deleted. Handle it like always. These animals need to learn their place. And if that tech CEO keeps pushing, we'll remind him where he came from too. The crowd erupted. But before they could react further, dark suits appeared at the edges, federal agents with earpieces glinting. FBI and Justice Department. Tasha's voice crackled. They moved with precise coordination, converging on the police station across the street. The crowd parted, phones recording. Live feeds caught Chief Roar being let out in handcuffs, his face ashen. Briggs followed, still trying to look tough. The plaza exploded in cheers. People hugged strangers, crying and laughing. Some dropped to their knees in prayer. Cal stared at the scene, tears streaming down his weathered face. Never thought I'd see this day. Look at me, Darius said. You're not invisible anymore. Social media exploded. Every major network picked it up. On stage, Cal stepped forward one last time. I used to tell young Darius, don't let them make you small. Tonight we stand tall. Tonight we are seen. 3 weeks later, the marble halls of Atlanta's federal courthouse echoed with footsteps as people filed into the packed courtroom. Morning light filtered through tall windows. Dalton Briggs sat at the defendant's table, his uniform replaced by an ill-fitting gray suit. His usual swagger had deflated. Cal and Darius sat in the front row behind the prosecution. Cal wore a new navy blazer, his silver hair neatly combed. All rise. The bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. Prosecutor Andrea Collins approached the podium. Your Honor, the government will now present video evidence of the defendant's pattern of conduct. The courtroom lights dimmed. Screens showed multiple angles of the Piedmont Park scene. Security cameras, bystander videos, partial body cam footage. Cal's quiet humming as he fed pigeons. Briggs's aggressive approach. The shopping cart crashing over. Look at him, Darius whispered to Cal. He has to face what he did. More videos played. Years of similar incidents. The same smirk, the same certainty. Notice the defendant's expression. Collins directed the jury. The footage zoomed in on Briggs's face. The casual cruelty, the absolute certainty of his power. The prosecution presented internal emails, text messages, recorded phone calls. A portrait emerged of systematic abuse. The defendant didn't just abuse his authority, Collins argued. He reveled in it. He celebrated it. After hours of testimony, the judge called for closing arguments. Officer Briggs betrayed his oath, his badge, and his community, Collins said. He didn't protect and serve. He terrorized and abused. Today, we prove him wrong. The jury deliberated less than 2 hours. When they returned, the forewoman's voice rang clear. On the charge of aggravated assault under color of law, we find the defendant guilty. Guilty on all counts. Judge Martinez's gaze pierced Briggs. Mr. Briggs, you betrayed everything your badge represented. You used your power to terrorize the vulnerable. I sentence you to 15 years in federal prison. The smirk finally vanished completely as officers approached with handcuffs. Outside, reporters swarmed. Headlines flashed. Mayor Shaw announces resignation. Police reform bill passes city council. Cal stood in the sunshine, watching Briggs being led to a prisoner transport van. You know what I keep thinking about? Cal said quietly. That day in the park, feeding those pigeons. Such a simple thing. Just existing in peace. You'll have that again, Darius said. We all will. As the van drove away, Cal smiled faintly. The morning sun warmed his face as more headlines scrolled. Federal investigation expands. City Council approves homeless advocacy program. Cal descended the courthouse steps as reporters clustered. He stepped forward, microphones tilting toward him like metal flowers seeking sunlight. I was invisible, he began. That's what they wanted. Invisible when I needed help. Invisible when I asked for justice. Invisible when they put their boots on my neck. The crowd fell silent. But somebody saw me. Cal continued, glancing at Darius. Somebody remembered when I was more than just a man on the street. And that's what justice looks like, being seen, being heard, being human. A young reporter asked, "What's next for you, Mr. Monroe?" Cal touched the small Bible in his pocket. Not the one Briggs had destroyed, but a new one Darius had given him. "Next is remembering who I am, who we all are." Darius stepped forward. "Justice happened here today, but our work isn't done. Every Cal Monroe deserves to be seen.